Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
So I've been thinking about this whole being happy thing, and I feel like people get lost when they think of happiness as a destination. We're always thinking that someday we'll be happy. We'll get that car, or that job, or that person in our lives that'll fix everything. But happiness is a mood, and it's a condition, not a destination. It's like being tired or hungry. It's not permanent. It comes and goes, and that's okay. And I feel like if people thought of it that way, they'd find happiness more often. That, my friends, is a quote from One Tree Hill. What is One Tree Hill? I just looked it up, and apparently it was a television show that ran from 2003 to 2012, which I had never heard of or seen, but I've seen that quote often all over social media, and I've actually shared it myself. I shared it November 29th, 2015, in the album Random Thoughts and Feelings that I created on Facebook, which is full of different things that reflected my mood at the time. And when I came across that, it spoke to me, obviously. Whatever was happening in November of 2015, I needed to come across it, so I did. This episode 5 of the Soul Forge podcast, is going to be about happiness. What is happiness? Does happiness exist? Is it real? Can we obtain it? So if we go back to that quote, it's more of a sliding scale kind of thing. It's a condition, like a mood. You're not always happy, you're not always hungry, you're not always tired, you're not always sad. So you're not always happy. It comes and it goes. It ended by saying, and I feel like if people thought of it that way, they'd find happiness more often. And from the research that I have done, basically what you need to do is stop looking for happiness. When you stop looking for something, that's usually when you find it. I know I've discovered that a lot in my life. The moment you stop looking for something, there it is. And I think that's probably the same thing with happiness. So let's start with a definition. I just Googled it. Happiness. It's a noun. It's the state of being happy. She struggled to find happiness in her life. So they come up with some synonyms. Pleasure, contentment, satisfaction, cheerfulness, merriment, gaiety, joy, joyfulness, joviality, jollity, glee, delight, good spirits, lightheartedness, well-being, and enjoyment. So all kinds of different things that basically say the same thing. It's a state of mind, a state of being. And what does that really mean? Well, it's a feeling. It's hard to describe. You can define it until the cows come home, but what is it really? Happiness is a combination of how satisfied you are with your life and how good you feel on a day-to-day basis. And of course, these change, but they're also somewhat stable. So your life changes, your mood fluctuates, but your general happiness is probably, according to the research that I've done, more genetically determined than pretty much anything else that there is out there. So it's like your weight. Your body shape and size is a certain way, but you can modify it with what you eat, how active you are, that kind of thing. Let's say that you eat less than you'd like and you exercise more, your weight goes down probably. And if that becomes part of your life, then you're going to stay at that weight. So it's the same as happiness. So if you form habits that lead to a more fulfilling or satisfying life, then you're going to be generally more happy. But happiness is not a final destination. It's, I think it's more of is it a journey? It is, because life is a journey, and there are bumps along the way. Sometimes you get a flat tire, and sometimes you see a beautiful sunrise when you crest a hill. It's a sliding scale. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, really. Your happiness is a sliding scale of how you're feeling from one moment to the next. Now, for example, my life. Am I a happy person? I don't think people would describe me as a sad person, but I'm also not exuberant in my joy either. I think I'm pretty even keel. Most people would describe me that way. My roommate, for example, Carmen, we were just talking about this before I recorded the episode, and she says, "You know what? I think I'm a generally happy person." And I said, "You know what, Carmen? You're right. Even when you're miserable, you're laughing about things." So she's bubbly and upbeat, full of joy. And even when she's sad or upset, she still carries on, and she still has a good positive attitude. And I think that's a very healthy way to live your life. Me, on the other hand, I guess I'm just floating along, really. I'm neither super upset or super excited. No, I do fluctuate here and there, but I think I've learned in my life that I don't really show emotion all that much. I show some, but for whatever reason, due to my upbringing or whatever it was, emotions don't become a great big factor in my life. They're there, and I feel them, but if you were to ask anybody that I know, they would probably tell you that no, Sean doesn't show a lot of emotion. So really, let's put this into perspective. Let's put this on the forge. Let's take the topic of happiness and set fire to it and really dive deep into what this actually is. So, for example, me, I'm here, I'm okay. I'm not upset, I'm not miserable. Am I happy? And I don't feel great big wells of excitement here. I'm happy to be doing this podcast episode for you guys. That's a lot of fun. I love doing podcasts. Am I happy doing it? I think I am. Yeah, I am. Sometimes the thoughts don't come to my mind because I'm thinking, well, after I'm done recording this, I have to edit out the ums and the ahs and the pauses and the parts where I couldn't think and I had to change my words. You guys don't get to hear that, but it's fun. I love to edit the show. In my other show that I do, I like to put in sound effects, and I might do that here too. I am Groot. Different kinds of sound effects to keep it interesting and entertaining. And that's fun to me. That makes me happy. I like to create something that other people will enjoy. And yeah, so you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy doing a podcast. I hope you're enjoying it as well. And let's I'm on a website here talking about daily happiness, and they're talking about what happiness isn't. It's like we talked about earlier. It's not a final destination. It's not an are we there yet. It's not something that happiness isn't something that you work towards and all of a sudden it arrives one day. No, that's not true because there is no final destination in life. Let's say you won the lottery. That would make you super happy, but that's just a one-off event. And as you get used to it, the happiness is still there, but it's not at an all-time peak like it was when you found out that your numbers matched. Or let's say that you got married or you got a promotion at your job. You know what? That makes you happy because you're going to make more money. You're going to be in a better position at work. You found the love of your life. You're going to start a family. That's all very happy. But you know what? As time goes on, it just fades into the background of who you are, and it's part of your nature. And it certain events, certain specific things that happen to you on a day-to-day basis will make you happy. Some things will make you sad. So you got married and you got to stand up there with your beautiful bride or beautiful groom, handsome groom, and you were celebrated by all your friends and you got all kinds of gifts. And happiness is, say, opening up a gift that was on your registry, and yay, you've always wanted one of these and now you have it. That's happy. And so you put it on the shelf at your house, and it's a few years later, and you walk by it, and it's there, and it gives you a nice memory. But the happiness is not the same as when you first got the thing, because it's been part of the background of your life, and you see it, you might smile, and it reminds you of your wedding day, and that's a happiness, but it's not exuberance or whatever like it was when you first got it, and that's okay. And you know what? So you're married. You open up your credit card bill and you see that your partner has bought something that you really couldn't have afforded. You're still happy with your spouse or your partner, but you're not happy with the hit to your bank account, for example. So basically, what it is, I find happiness is a sliding scale, but it also has peaks and valleys, troughs, and that kind of thing. So you're happy, and then you're not happy. You're exuberant, you're miserable, and it goes along like a spiral or a wheel or something, and that's basically what it is, and that's okay. But happiness isn't being rich or affording everything that you want. I'm just going to read a quote from this website. It says here, while living below the poverty line certainly makes it hard to be happy, beyond that, money does not appear to buy happiness. Imagine you unexpectedly get a 10,000 a year raise. While you would certainly be excited in the short term, it would only be a matter of time before your expectations change to fit your new budget. Before you know it, you're just as happy as you were before the raise. And this holds true for new houses, new cars, new gadgets, and all of the other material goods that people spend so much time pining for. The only exception to this rule is when you spend your money on experiences with other people. So, if you took that extra $10,000 a year and spent it on some weekend getaways to new and exciting places with friends or family, then you might get happier. However, that's rarely how people choose to spend their money. So that's basically what it is. This is happiness. And so we're putting it here, we're laying it out, we're discussing it, we're examining it, and what this is basically telling me is that it's just back to the One Tree Hill quote at the beginning of the episode. Happiness is a mood, and moods change. Also on this website that I found, happiness is not feeling good all the time. Research suggests that an even-keeled mood is more psychologically healthy than a mood in which you achieve great heights of happiness regularly. After all, what goes up must come down. Furthermore, when you ask people what makes their lives worth living, they rarely say anything about their mood. They're more likely to say things that they find meaningful, such as work or relationships. And recent research even suggests that if you focus too much on trying to feel good all the time, you'll actually undermine your ability to feel good at all. In other words, no amount of feeling good will be satisfying to you, since what you expect all the time isn't physically possible for most people. So let's think about that a little bit more in detail. So you're always happy, you're always up. Then that just becomes your new stability. And so you can't top it because you're living at the top all the time. So you don't even know what happiness is anymore. So what people say, what I've heard over the years, and you hear it all the time, without good there is no evil. Without the light there is no dark. So without sadness there's no happiness. And that's what humanity is all about, I think. It's experiencing different things, having different feelings, going on different adventures, and feeling different feelings. That's what it is. Happiness is a feeling, and a mood is a feeling. A feeling is a mood. It's that kind of thing. And right now, I've just eaten, so I'm feeling full. I'm wearing the appropriate clothing, so I'm comfortable. I'm sitting in a chair talking into a microphone, and I'm comfortable. There's enough light. I've got things to tell you guys, and so everything's fine. I'm happy. I'm hoping that the words that I'm saying to you are coming across properly. That's one thing I find is, maybe, I don't think frustrating is the right word, but concerning, I guess, is the best way to put it. Am I giving you information that you need, that you want? Am I telling you things that you don't know? I hope so. I want to give you new information. That's why you're listening to the podcast. And if you're getting anything out of this, then that makes me happy. And hopefully it makes you happy too. And then I'll be done recording this podcast and I'll go do something else. Maybe I'll read a book. Maybe I'll watch some TV. Maybe I'll edit it right away and put it up online. I'm not sure yet because I'm focused on the moment. And I think that's another thing regarding happiness. You have to focus on the moment. And what does that mean? I guess it means being self-aware, experiencing every moment, being there for it. I don't think that's necessarily a requirement because people can not be aware of what they're thinking or doing, and they could be happy. Like when you're on a roller coaster ride, you're not really thinking too much. You're just experiencing the moment. You're going up and you're going down, or you're going backwards, or you're going upside down, and maybe you're experiencing joy or fear or happiness or excitement or trepidation, and you don't really have time to think because you're going too fast. So really, when it comes right down to it, happiness is the experience of joy or contentment, positive well-being, and you combine that with a sense that your life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. That's what happiness is. So remember, if you're taking anything away from this episode of the podcast, happiness is unique to each individual. How you experience happiness may be different from how I experience happiness. The same event, say you and I are going on a roller coaster ride. We're going down the steep 90-degree curve. The wind is whipping through my hair, and I've got a smile on my face. My hands are up, and I'm having the blast. You, on the other hand, have your arms gripped into the seat rest, and your eyes are closed, and you're just trying not to die and fall out of your chair. The same exact event. One person is happy, and one person is scared to death. Nobody can define it for you. It's up to you. It's what makes you happy, and there are all kinds of different factors for this. So you have your environment, which are things like your safety and your amount of food, the freedoms that you have, the weather, and your home perhaps. And then you have pleasures like sex or love or eating or painting or producing a podcast or any other number of things. And then you have your relationships, your friendships, family, your partner, your coworkers. They can make you happy and they can make you miserable. So that's something that will affect your happiness. Your outlook on life too. You could just be a miserable person and you're never happy, or you could be a happy person and you're always content, for the most part. Nobody's always either miserable or content, but your outlook on life, how you see the world, that's going to affect your mood. Your involvement in the community. Are you engaged with the outside world? Are you volunteering? A lot of people volunteer, and that makes them happy. There's all kinds of different things that you can be involved in. You can be involved in the Parent Teachers Association. You could coach your kid's little league game. You could be involved in politics or any number of things. Not everybody wants to be involved, and not being involved makes certain people happy, but being involved makes other people happy. So it's all up to you. Then you have success, confirmation that you're successful in your endeavors. Do other people see you as successful? Does that make you happy? Some people don't care what other people think, and they're going to do what they want, and they're going to be happy regardless, or miserable regardless. So all kinds of different things will affect your happiness, or your sadness, or your mood, and that's okay. We're all individuals. Just to finish off, I'm going to talk a little bit of philosophy here. In philosophy, happiness translates the Greek concept of eudaimonia, and that refers to the good life or flourishing rather than just an emotion. So, written in 350 BC approximately, Aristotle stated that happiness is the only thing that humans desire for its own sake, unlike riches or honor, health, or friendship. And he observed that people sought riches or honor or health not only for their own sake, but also in order to be happy. So, for Aristotle, the notion of eudaimonia was an activity rather than an emotion or a state. Thus, he understood that the happy life is the good life. That is, a life in which the person fulfills human nature in an excellent way. Specifically, Aristotle argued that the good life is the life of excellent rational activity, and he arrived at his claim with the function argument, which basically said every living thing has a function, that which it uniquely does. So for humans, our function is to reason, since that alone is what we uniquely do, and performing one's function well or excellently is one's good. Thus, the life of excellent rational activity is the happy life. So that's a lot of words that basically says that functioning well is what makes one happy. But there's also happiness in other philosophies as well. So, for example, in Buddhism, the ultimate freedom from suffering leads to nirvana, a state of everlasting peace. That's the ultimate happiness, only achieved by overcoming cravings in all of its forms. And I could go on and on. There's happiness in Hinduism and Confucianism and Judaism, Christianity, Islam, so on and so forth, all kinds. Then there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we all know about. And I don't want to bore you guys with that. This is all stuff you can find online or in books or all kinds of different things. But basically, happiness is something that we're all looking for. John Lennon, when he was 5 years old and his teacher asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he said he wanted to be happy. and the teacher said you didn't understand the question, and John Lennon said to his teacher that she didn't understand the question. At least that's the story. Is it true? I don't know. I saw it on a meme somewhere or something, so whatever. It doesn't matter. We all want to be happy. We'd all like to be happy. We do things that make us happy. And I think as long as we're being happy and not infringing on the rights of others and not destroying their happiness, then we're doing a good thing. And that's all that matters. Let's all try to be happy. So that's all I have to say about happiness for the most part. I'm going to leave you with one quick story from my own life. Years ago, after the first Iron Man movie came out, there was a company that was making statues of Iron Man armor. And I really, really, really wanted it. I'm a huge collector. I've been collecting all my life, and I really wanted this expensive statue. So for Christmas, my girlfriend at the time bought me the statue, and I pulled it out of the box, and I smiled, and I was happy with it, and then I put it on a shelf, and I never thought about it again. And she was severely disappointed because the happiness didn't last. I was excited to get it, mind you, but it was just a thing. So if that tells you anything, happiness does not come from external stimuli. Happiness comes from within. Either you're happy or you're not. Different things can affect levels of happiness, but ultimately, things that are needed to be happy are also subjective. So it's up to you to find out what makes you happy, whether that's getting your dream job, finding love, picking up a hobby, or any other number of 100 different things that you want to do. So, just a few tips that I found in order to increase your happiness. People who are happy surround themselves with other happy people. They also smile when they mean it. They cultivate resilience. What does that mean? If you fall 7 times, get up 8. People who are happy try to be happy. Just trying to be happy can boost your emotional well-being. And happy people are mindful of the good. They appreciate simple pleasures, like an ice cream cone or a wagging dog. Also, happy people let themselves lose track of time. They nix the small talk for deeper conversation. And I can tell you that's true. Gossip, that doesn't make you happy. But having a deep, meaningful conversation, that's happiness. And I've had a lot of those. Happy people look on the bright side of things. Optimism brings lots of healthy benefits, including less stress and better tolerance for pain. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about happiness. I hope you find it. I hope you're happy. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you'll tell your friends and family about the show. I'm getting some more listeners. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would send an email suggesting topics that I could cover for you, or if you have any personal questions that you'd like for me, or any kind of thing that you'd like to share or bring up or have me cover. Definitely don't hesitate to send in something. All the contact ways are at the end of the episode that I've pre-recorded. And thanks for coming along. And remember, maybe it's not about the happy ending. Maybe it's about the story. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Soul Forge. I hope you found some value in it. To contact the show, please email soulforgepodcast@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at soulforgepod. We are Soulforge Podcast on Facebook, and you can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at Darth Vaderloo. Please spread the Soulforge word by rating and reviewing us in iTunes and by telling everyone you know. Thanks for stopping by the Forge.